Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Jazz Marie, aka Vevna Forrow. So previously on the podcast, I was showing you around Bloodletter magazine. Very cool again how they integrate illustrations into the online publication alongside of poetry and short stories. And they also pay featured artists $250, right? Just some really stellar illustration work, and just wanted to again show example of what's possible, in terms of, setting up your own lit mag or journal, right? And taking consideration, the importance of art and visuals, right, alongside the publication. So we're going to continue the sort of conga line of horror, literary arts magazines. It's October, of course. Got to do it. Got to. And it's fun, right? So Cosmic Horror Monthly, CHM, you're probably wondering, why did I choose CHM, Cosmic Horror Monthly? Well, I'll share in a little bit here. So I'm gonna just do the general overview. If you guys share a little bit about it, and then just do some commentary on things that stand out to me, right? So Cosmic Horror Monthly, right? They were founded in 2020, United States, right? I believe on Duotrope it says Oklahoma City, right? So yeah, just gonna quote off of what's on Chill Subs here to share a little bit more about it with you guys. Cosmic Horror Monthly is a literary magazine dedicated to the cosmic horror genre, encompassing Lovecraftian, weird, and new horror fiction. Each monthly issue features original short stories, poetry, and artwork that delve into the unsettling and the unknown, reflecting the genre's emphasis on the insignificance of humanity in the vast cosmos. The magazine aims to provide a platform for both emerging and established voices, offering readers a diverse array of narratives that challenge perceptions and evoke a sense of cosmic dread. In addition to its regular publications, Cosmic Horror Monthly has engaged in crowdfunding campaigns to support its growth and professionalization, indicating a commitment to enhancing the quality and reach of its content. The magazine is available in both digital and print formats, with subscriptions offering access to current and back issues. For those interested in contributing, the magazine accepts submissions during specific periods each year, encouraging writers to share their unique interpretations of cosmic horror. And yeah, it says here, while the magazine's website provides detailed information about its offerings, specific details about the editorial team, including the founder or editor in chief, are not readily available. So yeah, that's not, necessarily true. On their site, they actually do have, masthead information visible, and all of that, and bios and photos. So just keep that in mind. I think if you go on here and expand on chill subs, it's a question mark. I'm not sure why they did that, but anyways. Industry ranking, fish list, again, I have an episode that covers that. 526 out of 1,830. Rankings change from time to time, and not every year do lit magazine journals make it on, ranking list or industry rankings. So just keep that in mind. So they're on the where to publish horror stories, fiction staff picks of chill subs, right? Very cool. Looks like here, no fee, right? So no fee to submit to them. And as of 2025. And then payment, it says varies. So it looks like they paid 3 cents per word for fiction, and then $20 to $100 per piece for multimedia. I believe that's art. So yeah, again, these chill subs tracker stats, they're not 100% accurate, but the more that use chill subs and track their decision in the system, right, of chill subs, the more accurate that can be for others. So average response time is looking again at 53 days. Acceptance rate is averaging 5%. So yeah, they've been bookmarked 217 times here. It looks like at least, nearly almost 300, at 268 track their submissions, through chill subs. Not every single person, perhaps logged in the decision of that, though, whether it was an acceptance or decline, maybe, or things like that. So just keep that in mind. Um, yeah. So, yeah. So the guidelines, right? We'll go over to their website here in a little bit. I just want to show you the calls. So, of course, horror, right? And then it says, 1,000 to 5,000 words. It looks like on fiction, short horror, speculative fiction. Again, they pay 3 cents per word, up to one piece, it looks like. So, their memoir and their art calls, it looks like everything's opening up, in 90 days from now, yeah. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's check out the guidelines. I'm sure and some places state things about formatting and the cover letter and the tone and everything in bios. So just keep that in mind. Um, yeah, they accept simultaneous submissions, and let's go off to their website to see the guidelines. So again, they want weird and cosmic fiction under 5,000 words. They publish twice a year, right? So the window is January 1st through 7th, and then July 1st through 7th. So yeah, some lit magazine journals, and it says fiction closed here at the top of my screen. So some lit magazine journals, they have, windows that are a few weeks, right? Or 1 week or two times in a year, or even just a few times throughout the year, right? Very specific windows. So others, can mark their calendar and like, this place opens up only on these dates. So I have to make sure I get my submission in that window. So I think that's nice for places to have reoccurring windows. When you have sporadic windows, it's a little bit hard to update, listings and keep track of that and things like that. Maybe in chill subs and even Duotrope, right? Their team updates those listings, in the year. But nevertheless, right? I think it's nice to do that for, main calls, especially. Not every place can do that. You open when you can, life events happen. So it totally is understandable. But I think that's nice that they do that. Cosmic Horror Monthly looks like they use Moksha, Moksha, a submission management system. I talked about Moksha a little bit on this podcast. You can see there's no open calls. I'm not logged into Moksha, by the way. But yeah, there's no fees to submit or anything like that to Cosmic Horror Monthly as of 2025 or anything like that. Sometimes places change. That's why I say as of 2025. Things can change with contests, guidelines. Some places restructure things, right? It happens, but just keep that in mind. So, Moksha, I would say, is a pricier submission management system, as I shared on this podcast. So wouldn't be in my top three. I mentioned Subfolio, I really love, which we're on. And then there is also, of course, Duosumo, which I showed you in the past podcast episode, and Submittable, right? So I think Submittable, quite a few lit mags and journals use that, right, on the CLMP membership too, because it's only affordable if you're with the CLMP membership, right? So I don't believe Moksha has, any. I could be wrong, but I'm not aware of anything like that in terms of discounts and stuff. Yeah, I'm not aware of anything like that. But yeah, nevertheless, I think it's a little bit pricier. So just keep that in mind. If you're gonna start your own lit mag journal, right? Take a look back at the list I made, the article or the episodes covering submission management systems, totally. And alternatives to Submittable. But nevertheless, I think Moksha is a good submission management system. It's just a little bit, I think, in terms of cost, a little bit too high. Yeah, and a few other things I mentioned in the other episodes. But yeah, let's go back here. And it says here reminders, right? So please submit your work only once. Please submit only one work per submission period. Please only submit works that have already been rejected if invited. We believe the horror genre's diversity. It says here they believe that the horror genre's diversity is its greatest strength, and they wish that that viewpoint to be reflected in their story content and submission queues. They are especially interested in hearing from those whose voices are underrepresented in the cosmic and weird. So it says if you feel comfortable, drop information in your cover letter, and they have a checkbox I think in their submission form. They strongly favor stories that use contemporary narrative styles, prose poetry, and other types of fiction with unique formatting and spacing are not a good match due to the print layout of the magazine. So again, simultaneous submission are allowed, but they say withdraw immediately upon acceptance elsewhere. Again, 3 cents USD per word for original fiction. They do not take unsolicited reprints. So it looks like in the past they had a special theme call, and they do not take any work that has AI used in its creation, and they really want unique work, absolutely, created by a human being, obviously. And a lot of places are like that, nowadays. Totally. I love seeing that, from places that are about, very clearly defining what they're looking for. And then they show, some examples of authors they love listed below. And some lit magazine journals do that, we love these poets or writers or their style of writing, things like that. But yeah. So it looks like they had a Patreon issue. So they do use Patreon. It looks like a Cosmic Horror Monthly. And yeah, some places do that. or published through their Patreon. Even I've seen do some bonus content through their Patreon for almost like members only, or those who have subscribed through Patreon, things like that. Um, yeah. So they have, it looks like the different issues they've done in the past, right? Like a Patreon and issue, you know, yeah. So it says for this one, that Patreon one, by the way, it says back then, I don't know when this call was, but this was for issue 13. Um, it says stories published on their Patreon, then collected into a full print issue. Yeah, so some places do that. They take what's on Patreon, published there, and then they put into an issue, right? So yeah, and I think it helps also. With Patreon, right? You have to uh, establish ongoing content and things, or different access levels for others, to really keep others engaged with that. And yeah, so I think that's nice, and then they put together an issue with all of that. So yeah, a lot of different things you could do if you're Patreon or even Substack, paywall certain things, it's possible. Yeah, nonfiction's closed, and it looks like art, I think, is saying open. I don't know if that's accurate again, because on chill subs it was saying closed, right? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe art is always open. That's the only thing I'm not sure. It's at the very bottom here, so I think that's yeah. So not 100% sure about that, but yeah, we can go out on Duotrope too. So again, CHM is headquartered in Oklahoma City, and yeah, out of the United States. It says here they again, want to drive cosmic horror and weird fiction into the future while paying homage to the golden age of pulp literature. And yeah, so they've been favorited 125 times on Duotrope, and yeah, so yeah, it says on Duotrope, right? Fiction, nonfiction is temp closed, poetry is closed, visual art is open. So yeah, it's possible visual art is open. I'm seeing two conflicting things, Duotrope and then chill subs, right? So yeah, typically, just based on what I'm seeing, if I see their other calls are all closed here, I probably wouldn't submit, or I'd reach out and say, I'm just wondering, are you, open or not? Some places are totally okay, or have a Discord channel where you can reach out and stuff like that, or ask questions. Most places are, okay with questions. You don't want to bombard anyone, if you're unsure. I think again, it would be nice on chill subs to have a field or something stating whether places accept international submissions, something like that, because it's not always clear, right? Sometimes you have to read a publication and see, oh yeah, they've published poets internationally, right? Or things like that, unless they specify, they take submissions from around the world. It's kind of hard to find that sometimes, right? So just some things there, but yeah. What else, guys? So yeah, I think that's basically it. If we go to their about section, so again, they didn't have the masthead on chill subs, but if we read here, it says Cosmic Horror Monthly is a magazine, again, specializing in cosmic horror and weird fiction, published by Randolph Literary Press. It was founded by Charles Tyra in 2020, and then Jolie Tumajan, I apologize mispronouncing any names, currently serves as chief editor. Yeah, they love short fiction, and while they recognize H.P. Lovecraft's monumental contributions to literature and the coining of the term cosmic horror, they absolutely disavow the personal views he held and shared during his lifetime. So, yeah. And then what is cosmic horror, right? You hear cosmic horror, but you're like, I wonder what that really entails. So it's nice that they have. I think this should be more visible under the guidelines section, though, because I didn't come across this until the about. So I think it's nice to have this maybe article in more than one place here. But yeah, they have an article that answers these questions, by the chief editor. So yeah, what is cosmic horror? You're probably like, what is that, right? What does that really entail? If you've never heard that before. So the editor in chief has a letter here. I'm obviously not going to read all of it for you guys, but you can, look at it a little bit further, right? What it really entails and examples they have of it, right? I think it helps, right? Yeah, so I think it's good that they give those examples. Not a lot of places do that, right? They may say we're looking for this, but you're like, what is that? Do you have examples for us? So I think it's nice that they do that. Haven't read through the whole thing quite yet, but yeah, I think it's great that they do so. So yeah, again, they have here, I'm quoting this author site, cosmic horror is a broad term used to describe a special kind of fear that tends to accompany the discovery of one's true and insignificant place in the unfathomable vastness of the universe. Put simply, it is the fear of the unknown, and with any luck, it is a sensation you will find on a monthly basis in the pages of their magazine. So yeah, I think again, it helps to see examples there, but also really helpful to just pick up issues, right? To read their magazine and to really understand what cosmic horror is, I think, right? To really clarify that, because, I think just hearing that, you'll be like, what does that really mean, right? So, really nice that they have this article again. You can, read it on their website. I'm scrolling through some of it for you guys so you can see, some of the examples they have and things like that, right? They have heading woman in cosmic horror, and some of the conclusive points about it, right? And yeah, so I think that's nice that they do that, examples, and yeah. So yeah, check out that article by Jolie Tumajan. It might be pretty insightful, I think. And yeah, I think for me, it's just helpful to read a lit mag journal, a little bit first too, alongside of any articles that an editor has typed about the publication or what they're looking for. So always helps to do both. You just want to make sure whatever you submit is very fitting for their issues or what they're looking for. Yeah, so keep that in mind as always. Yeah, so the real reason I chose Cosmic Horror Monthly, what caught my eye, I'm sure you saw this on the main page earlier, but it says here, right? So they're publishing a monthly magazine dedicated to cosmic horror and weird fiction. So they, provide print issues, digital copies, or others can also read the magazine via their unique mobile app. So yeah, not a lot of lit magazine journals out there have their own custom mobile app, right? Not a lot of places do. So I think it's really neat. They actually have a screenshot here if we scroll down, and you can see the covers. Very beautiful covers. I love this, right? Very cool artwork. Absolutely. So I love that they have, I love seeing traditional styled art and illustrations, and definitely very cool. I think you really, the cover art makes you want to like pick up the issues too, totally. I think cover art is really important, right? It's the focal point of the issue, right? The first thing others see, everything. So you want to, totally, I think, again, it's so important, again, investing in artwork, right? And doing that. So yeah. And yeah, I love traditional art, traditional illustration work. So it looks like it says here, right, $3.99, and I'll show you the app in a bit here, but $3.99 to $15.99. Now that means if you go and select options, I won't go in for you guys, of course, to the shopping cart areas and stuff, but $3.99 is for digital access, and then for an issue, and then $15.99 is for picking up a print issue. So totally, if you're interested, grab some issues, digital or print. I like that they do that option. Always a good idea to have, digital issues are supposed to be more cost friendly, right? Totally. So just keep that in mind, yeah. So yeah, very cool mobile app here. Here's a screenshot they have of the mobile app. So this is available in the App Store. It says go to the Google Play Store, but it is available, also in the, check the Apple Store. I saw it. So very cool. Yeah, they also, give, again, with the digital access, right? PDF files, EPUB files, and yeah, they have a free version of their magazine, I think, right? A sample so you can see, before subscribing. And yeah, I think you just sign up to, subscribe with your email, and then totally, that's cool, right? So yeah, I want to take some time to, talk about mobile magazine reader apps, just again, because this may be helpful for others. So yeah. So yeah, just some background again. I have, in the past year met with various, magazine subscription reader apps, totally, because it was something I was looking into, how to get into, mobile apps, right, for magazine subscriptions. There are tons out there, tons of places. Some are free, very few, and then some have a monthly fee that you have to pay, or setup fees for specifically, your own custom branded app. Now, custom branded apps, can be on the pricier side, totally, right? One place I went with, in terms of meeting with, right, was quoting me $800 USD, right? $800, yeah. And yeah, so that's pretty pricey, the setup fee, and that doesn't include the monthly fees for throughout the year, right? So you're looking at somewhere, almost $1,000 a year, and that doesn't even include, I think, some of the other fees. They also have a per page cost, on the uploads, right? That was just one place I was with, in terms of meeting, right? But then I was like, yeah, this is way outside my budget, not going to work at this time, but maybe one day. So yeah, and then there were other places I reached out to that were free, right? You don't, pay anything, right? They vet your publication, you talk with them, right? And then, you if they give you permission, right? It's very simple, right? You sign an agreement and upload your issues, right? That's all. And yeah, so we got onto one. Quite a few places had rejected us, or quite a few places were outside of our budget range, in terms of mobile app readers, digital subscription services, right? So there are some out there, right? I mentioned we got on. I shared on this podcast, right? Caffeine, right? There we are, right? So we got on this app. So caffeine's based out of the France originally, but they have teams in UK and elsewhere, or yeah. So yeah, so caffeine, they're based out of France, I recall, but they have an international team, around it. So, UK and things like that, totally. Yeah, so they have a mobile app, and yeah, so basically, it's a digital subscription, right? And others can sign up. So caffeine was one. I covered in this podcast also Exact Editions again. CLMP has a membership discount with Exact Editions. They also have a mobile app, Exact Editions, right? I haven't, contacted Exact Editions to date or anything like that. But yeah, very cool. I might reach out to them one day, totally, because it's a very awesome their library, and yeah, they have, I think, out of all the subscription services I've seen, digitally, in terms of that and digital subscriptions, I think they have the most. I could be wrong. The most poetry and literary arts related, publications on their platform. Yeah, ones like Pocket Mags, yeah. So I was quoted some higher prices from Pocket Mags in terms of getting onto their platform and facilitating a branded app or so. But they have a lot of really amazing features where you could incorporate, I think audio or some interactive things, and yeah. But if we type poetry on here, I'll just show you guys. And I have, sorry, all uppercase right now, but that's okay. So if we type poetry, right? So we have dappled things and writing magazines, right? So not a ton on here, obviously I could type lit mag or literary arts, but still very few, in that, genre, or in keyword search, I mean. Now, yeah, so if you type, I think, poetry on caffeine, right? I don't think we come up in a keyword search or anything like that. You have to type our exact name to really find us, or go to the category and scroll through. So yeah, I think we were one of the few literary arts magazine on caffeine, and then I reached out to Pocket Mags, but yeah, I prefer platforms, right, that are within my budget at the time. So I would say budget wasn't an issue. Totally, I would go for Pocket Mags, but it can be, again, costly. We had a very high page count, of our series, so it would be per page, I think, cost with them. That's what you want to keep in mind, your page count. We're relaunching things and doing smaller bite-sized issues going forward. So, I'll have to see if we can still stay on caffeine or not. But yeah, I'm also going to someday reach out maybe to Exact Editions. And, there's several other ones out there. I mentioned this podcast, Yumpu, YUMPU, right? They also have mobile app reader capabilities. Readly is another one. Readly is free, right? And I think they have a partnership of some kind with caffeine. Yeah, and then the cool thing about some of these apps, right, they do a split with you, right? So some do 70/30 is what I've seen, or 60/40 splits, in terms of the purchases and sales from the digital subscriptions. I'm not sure what Exact Editions, how it's all set up for that one, but I know for caffeine and Pocket Mags, they sort of have a split of some kind like that. So yeah. Yeah, so it can be rather expensive, to facilitate a mobile app. But yeah, totally possible. You just have to make sure, I think, that you have your series developed out a little bit further before you just dive into a mobile app, right? Unless you have, the funds and a a budget sustained and everything, in advance, of the funds to facilitate that. That's a different story. But a lot of places, if you're not going to, I don't know if they developed this themselves or went through a developer. In either case, for some apps, you're able to see, the developer in the app store, but I didn't see anything like that. I think it just said CHM or Cosmic Horror Monthly, which leads me to believe this was all custom built as they stated. Totally, yeah. So they had a custom built app. So I'm not sure what the cost was for them, but I know it can be, of course, mobile app development and things like that. It is expensive. There's some cost there, right? There's some additional cost there. Especially if you go through other places, right, or things like that, right? I was quoted, $800 for a setup on one, and additional fees, right? So we're getting up into almost 1,000 something, overall. But yeah, I don't know what their cost was for this. And nowadays, I say this a lot on the podcast, right? Thanks to technology, right? You don't need a bunch of development knowledge to, create an app of some kind. But I think it's nice when you have human developed apps from scratch or someone on the back end supporting it, if something breaks with it, right? You have someone who's knowledgeable on how to fix it, right? You're not relying on some, tool that's not always accurate, right? I'm not into, as CHM mentioned, right? Not into AI at all or things like that. But it's cool to, create blueprints of things in your mind and things like that. But all in all, I love seeing things built from scratch, right? Totally, and created from scratch. I think it's very cool and awesome again. So yeah, really love that they have this custom, unique built mobile app. I just want to give you an example of at least one lit manga journal out there that, does something like this because, if you want to do this someday, totally, if you want to start your press or lit manga journal solely online or do nothing but digital and then move into maybe a mobile app of some kind, you totally could. You could either, create your own app, right? There are, various ways you could go about that. You could hire a developer, be careful, of course, who you're working with. You could, if you have development knowledge, you could, of course, do it yourself and deploy it to the App Store, right? You have to get a developer account. There are fees associated for, the Apple Store and Google Play Store. Apple's more expensive, their monthly fee, their fees throughout the year versus Android, the Google Play Store, if I recall. So yeah, I totally tried pushing an app to the mobile app store once, guys. Not in terms of lit mags or journals at all. Just a personal project, just for fun. I wanted to do it just to see what it looked like. And yeah, so my first ever major in community college again was mobile app development and programming, and yeah, mobile app development and computer programming. So I didn't end up graduating with that major, but I transferred into a 2-year technical management program instead through DCTC, and then I majored in again. Learning design and technology. So just learning theories more. So that's what it should be called: instructional design and technology or learning theories. For adults and stuff. So instructional guides. How to teach others, things like that, right? And yeah. But yeah, I always wanted, I think, deep down to create an app of some kind or a platform or space from scratch. That was like always something I was really interested in, and computer games and developing things. Because I love art. I mentioned again. Who knows, guys? Maybe one day I will develop an app of some kind or put something together. It's kind of tough now with the budget I have and the physical challenges and stuff. But I do the best I can. So if I create something, I'll totally let you guys know though. But nevertheless, CHM, I think this again is just showing you, right? If you want to do a mobile app of some kind, it's totally possible, right? So I think you just want to make sure that you have, they've done crowdfunding. I'm not sure how much it was, but it's a good idea to do funding in advance and things like that, if you're looking to do things like this, especially, but it's always a good idea to develop out your series a little bit. And then, if you want to not develop it yourself or go through a place that facilitates custom branded apps, right? You can show your series examples. You want to see samples of your publication, your setup, maybe learn how many subscribers you have to date, if any, so places, that vet your publication, of course, and things like that. But a custom app, I think when you have something custom built, you have flexibility of saying, I want it to look this way. I want these features. I don't need all of this other things, right? Yeah. So just keep that in mind, so I'm not sure how much it costs, CHM to develop this, in either case or to facilitate this. But again, it's an additional cost to them to do this. And I think a lot of us are on our mobiles nowadays, totally, right? And do a lot of mobile reading. So it's just makes sense, to do that. If you can't do your own custom app, again, there are places you could go through, some that are free, very few out there I found. But they have to vet your publication and approve you onto their platform, or others where you could pay a monthly fee and be onboarded with them, right? Some places have very costly. One place I think quoted me $500 a year for their platform, and others were different. I got all kinds of different numbers, but some were super high and some were, kind of reasonable, but still outside the budget. So yeah, I would totally recommend, if you're interested in doing something like this or doing interactive PDF flipping issues, even, totally listen back to episode 20, where I cover print and digital subscriptions. And then always look in the descriptions for links to them. And yeah, that was, I think, an audio only version. And then, um, on one of these I'm mentioning, I'm not sure which one, I can't remember exactly. Um, but yeah, episode 20 was that one, and the various ways to facilitate subscriptions or, paywalls and things like that. And then episode 33 was where I covered PDF readers, like interactive, flipping through, issues and things like that. Yeah, the various platforms out there, I tend to update description links. So there was a few more I added. I mentioned Yumpu and some other ones, and yeah, and the places I just mentioned earlier. I did a separate episode on Zacked Editions. I think that was 62. Again, they have a CLMP membership discount, I believe, as of 2025. And yeah, so yeah, I haven't reached out to them yet, but it's something I'm thinking about. And some of the other ones I mentioned this podcast, I have reached out to, and some I haven't, but I've investigated some of them or done research, as much as possible as I could. Yeah, but that's Cosmic Horror. So if we scroll all the way to the bottom here, towards the bottom, you can see they have Patreon. So let's go to their Patreon. So yeah, this is cool, right? They have 466 members, 130 posts. So yeah, this is something you could do, to publish things to Patreon and then develop an issue around this, right? And yeah, so member access only. I think that is pretty neat. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You could do other things. Again, some lit magazine journals do bonus content in their Patreon and things like that, or share additional PDFs or playlists or some fun things, behind the scenes even with their Patreon. So yeah, you can be really creative with your Patreon. I did try creating account, but I never did much with Patreon at all. So I have to circle back to that if something we're gonna facilitate with my own lit mag journal, right? Dippity, but or press too. Yeah, but another great way to offset costs and to cover things, facilitating a Patreon. It seems like they've done crowdfunding, things like that. So yeah, let's go back here. So I think if you do a search on Patreon, you'll come across other lit magazine journals totally, and you can see some examples of how they facilitated their Patreon or structured it. And it's a pretty nice, yeah, creating different member level access, and things like that. You can have fun names for those, levels of access and membership on Patreon, if I recall. So it looks like they give you Discord server access, early access to digital magazines, a merch box and more. You have your name mentioned in the magazines. So yeah. So again, we have their masthead here, right? Jolie Tumajan, chief editor, Carson Winter, the co-editor in social media. Yeah, oversees social media, it looks like too. And then Charles Tyra, the founder and publisher. They do have awards listed here, right? Totally. So that's cool. Yeah, so overall, I think they have a very cool, and they have a try for free sample. So they do give a sample of what they're looking for. So yeah, I think it's totally worth it. Always, if you're interested in submitting to a place, get the free sample of an issue, pick up at least one. If you're really keen on submitting to a place, you have to really dig into past issues to get a feel for it. So for readers, let's see the other sections here real quick. So yeah, this is how they have it. It looks like fiction, segmented out, right? Let's click into one of these to see what it looks like. I think I didn't click on the title for you guys. There we go. So yeah, then, it looks like they have a sample from the issue right here. So yeah, so that's nice. And yeah, so I won't scroll through all of it, but yeah, you can click on some of these and read some of the short fiction. It says reader beware. So yeah, I haven't read these yet, but I'm gonna take some time after this podcast and totally read a little bit more. Definitely cool. So then they have the CHM blog, right? So they have a blog and things that yeah, things they run into and obstacles, right? So yeah, now, sometimes I see something in their blog here. So, sometimes Lit Magazine Journals editors they catch things after the fact of issues. I don't know if that's what happened here, but let's say a work was plagiarized, or let's say somebody actually used AI, right? And they had to pull it, or things, or retract something in an issue, or take it down, revise it, right? Misprints happen in issues, things like that, costly things. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, there's been cases where we found out some artists had used things that they didn't have rights to in their submission and stuff like that, and we had to like address it, right? Things like that happen. So you want to be very careful. You want to be careful about things like that. And yeah, you may have a policy in place, but others may not disclose some things, and you just want to be cautious about that totally in your publication. The crypt, what's that? Let's see. So yeah, it looks like they have more examples, right? Poetry here. Let's click on it. So yeah, it looks like yeah, they have some additional fiction and poetry here. I think the editor in chief maybe has contributed in the past to issues too, or is that 2025, And yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily what I'm seeing here, but yeah, some editors totally have, sometimes add some team contributions and things like that. Again, just be mindful about that, with CLP and some memberships and other places, right? They want to see that a majority of the work is focusing on submitters, right, contributors, not the staff. But yeah, you can still totally partake. I did this fun, again, riddle series with Dippity, right? I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but I'm thinking of it. And just some fun tea contributions, yeah, with the issue, but yeah, the sole focus should be on, the submitters, those featured, and all of that. So yeah, that's basically it, right? They have fiction, they have samples of poetry, the CHM blog, yeah, some, it looks like they give a couple pages of here, so you can totally toggle through. I couldn't see it at first, I think the numbers here, but yeah, so they have, it looks like 7 pages here on the crypt, and then as of October 2025, and then they have 31 pages under fiction. So yeah, lots of reading here. I think again they are, and I accidentally clicked on fiction, but you have to click, I think, on the title again. So yeah, that's so nice that they do that, right? They have the issue it's from, and then the author and everything. Yeah. So it says for writers, submissions. Again, I clicked on that one through the guidelines link on Chill Subs. Let's see manuscript services. Okay, there's a skull here. So yeah, it seems like they have manuscript services that they offer. So I'm not really sure what that entails. Some places have additional manuscript services that they provide, usually with additional cost, I think. So I'm not sure what that really entails, but yeah. But oh yeah, so it says here, all manuscripts that receive help are ineligible for submission to CHM magazine. So yeah, if you request, for a manuscript to be, revised, or combed through them for, I think maybe there's additional maybe fees or costs for doing those manuscript services, of course, probably. Right, you can't submit that to them, right? You can't submit that to Cosmic Horror Monthly. Nevertheless, I think that's cool that they do that. So yeah, you can see as a Lit Mag journal, you can offer additional services, set up a Patreon, do a lot of different things through publication. I think they have a good layout and overview. They have a store, right, where you can pick up books and issues. Really nice. Check out these awesome covers, guys, right? So totally, they have a lot of issues that they've published to date. Very cool. I love looking all the way back to the beginning of time. You can see how a place started and how it evolved, right? So I went all the way to page 6. And then, yeah, so I went all the way to page 6, and then we'll go back to 1 here. So yeah, very cool. Again, I love the cover art that they have here. Yeah, and then they have, it looks like, collections. Let's take a look at that. So yeah, you can get like a bundle even, sticker sets, right? I think that's nice to do that with the cover art. So you can make cover art stickers and stuff like that. Totally, very fun. First year box, second year box, they have third year, fourth year, it looks like, a third year box is $26, first year box 26, second year is 89, fourth year is 89. So yeah, you get a lot, bundling issues, right? Think that's nice that they do that. And then they have clothing, a merch store. Another great way to offset cost a little bit. Others can pick up items from merch store or elsewhere, alongside of issues, right? They can, it could be a built-in shop you have, or there are a lot of, you know, places that print on t-shirts and stuff. You could incorporate a shop. I shared on this podcast a little bit, talked about it. Yeah, so CHM overall is very cool. So they have a subscribe section, right, and everything, right. They tell you what you get delivered to your inbox, and the print options. Yeah, so they tell you what you get delivered to your inbox, it looks like, in the print options, right. So yeah, it looks like it's $148 a year. First month is free, right, for print. So yeah, I think it's important to facilitate subscriptions of some kind, whether it be digital or print. But if you want to start off as an online lit mag journal for, maybe it takes you, every lit mag journal's path is different. Some don't start digital and print subscriptions right away, or get into print. Some just solely do online and everything digital, right. And you totally could do that, right. Again, with print and facilitating issues, right, you have to think about shipping, delivery, all of that cost, right. And inventory, you're going to do it yourself. I talked about distribution on this podcast and stuff. So I think the thing about going solely online and digital, I think you just face less expenses overall, unless of course you're going into maybe subscription platforms, like creating your own mobile app, or going through one of the places I mentioned. Some are free, some are not, for getting onto a digital subscription platform, right, and creating issues that others flip through, right, magazine issues, right, and PDF issues and stuff like that, right. So yeah, there are a lot of different options you can do, but I think it's really cool that they do print, digital, and mobile app, so giving others choices to read and subscribe. They have a Patreon, they have a merch store, they have done crowdfunding in the past, it appears, and yeah. So I think just prime examples of what's possible with like the setup. I'd recommend, again, really ensuring that carefully think about what sections you want to have in your issues. Are you going to ever think about possibly paying writers or artists for their work? Do you want to work towards that? If so, maybe think about facilitating a Patreon, or some other ways of doing that. Maybe you'd offer additional services, feedback or manuscript review, like some lit magazine journals, right. And yeah, the sales of the lit mag or journal, go to pay writers, or they go back in the publication to cover expenses. What are you going to do? So yeah, everyone's setup's a little bit different. So I just wanted to give an example of a place that has an actual custom mobile app, because not a lot of places do. Some of the larger poetry magazines out there, of course, have their own mobile app, but very few presses and lit magazine journals actually have their own mobile app, or in digital subscription platforms. There aren't um, as many as, let's say, sports magazines, or some of the common categories out there, right. There have been very few when I did searching in some of the spaces I tried to get into. So yeah, but it's totally possible. We managed to get into one space, and then possibly going to trying to get in others with our relaunch and restructuring of things. But nevertheless, yeah, I think Cosmic Horror Monthly is very cool. I have not read their print issues or anything like that. I just came across them, this week, and I was like, oh, I got to share this because their mobile app looks wicked cool, So yeah, again, I think that's very unique that they have that. So check out more of CHM, in Oklahoma City. Pick up some issues. It doesn't look like they're open right now for any writing submissions. But yeah, def a cool one, out in existence, headquartered in Oklahoma City. So totally. Yeah, check it out, yeah, guys. And that's all I have for this episode. So I will see you guys in the next one, yeah. And don't forget again to check out episode 20 on print and digital subscriptions. Also, episode 33, I covered, I think, PDF readers or somewhere in the 30s. And some of them do have mobile apps. And then also check out Exact Editions, episode 62. In between those, around that episode, I did also distribution options for print and things like that too. Some episode coverage. So yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do another horror magazine again, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll take a break and I'll share some other things. We'll see. It is October, so I wanted to cover a couple horror themed lit magazine journals and presses again if possible. So yeah. So take care, guys, and have awesome days ahead. Yeah. See you in the next one. Yeah.